What's up, everybody? It's me, Ryan. So I wanted to do this quick video podcast to talk about the idea that less is more when it comes to nootropics for a lot of nootropic compounds. I'll start with uridine monophosphate. Uridine monophosphate is a pretty interesting compound related to your RNA, or the building of RNA in your body. There's some interesting studies to point that it facilitates synaptic plasticity in your brain and even contributes to neurite growth. Neurites are growth, extensions from neurons, axons, or dendrites. And if you understand anything about the brain anatomically and in terms of performance around axons and dendrites, you would know that would lead to better brain performance, having more neurites growing from the neuron. And so uridine monophosphate is a very interesting supplement, and I think a nootropic in and of itself in its own right. And the thing is, though, about uridine monophosphate is a lot of the studies that are like on examine.com and some of the other studies out there that sort of suggest particular dosages for uridine monophosphate to get nootropic benefits are in extremely high doses. It's like 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. Some of them are in excess of 1,000 milligrams, and that's a lot of uridine monophosphate. Through reading a lot of Reddit forums and some other forums, and probably, as far as I can remember, I think some forums on longevity.org, I found that a lot of people have experienced issues with too much uridine, and some of their dosages were like 400, 500 milligrams. And some of the dosages were like 1,000 milligrams. Some of the side effects were extreme tiredness, lethargy, a brain fog, inability to really concentrate, and depression was among some of the side effects, which is crazy. The same can be said with CDP choline, as well as alpha GPC. The real bioavailable forms of precursors, really, of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. And to me, it seems very obvious that well, first of all, I've had those side effects too when I've taken large amounts of CDP choline and uridine monophosphate. So that confirms in my own N=1 that those ingredients in high quantity will cause some issues for particular people. But I think that in sort of doing the research and trying to understand these compounds and perhaps how much your brain wants you to have, how much your brain might have as a result of breaking down foodstuffs, and then like beets in the case of uridine, or beer in the case of uridine, and eggs in the case of acetylcholine, and through the Kennedy cycle, CDP choline, that it's probably better that you don't have a whole lot of those nutrients in your brain in terms of milligram quantities, and that's what I have come to find out. I am of the way of thinking when it comes to nootropics that less is definitely more, and that has been the case for me, at least. I know I admit that this might be different for different people, for a host of different nutrients. In fact, most of them. Taking 750 milligrams of aniracetam does not do me well. I kind of feel foggy, and I have some other negative side effects, whereas taking 250 milligrams of aniracetam, which is, at this point, that's my sweet spot, feels great, and I have no side effects, and I feel, really awesome. I get all the benefits from it, and it lasts, good enough, like as long as aniracetam might last 2 to 4 hours. And the same is true for CDP choline. I cannot take any more than 200 milligrams of CDP choline. In fact, I have lowered, for my, there's CDP choline in Cortex Gen 1, and it's not a high amount, at all. It's under 100 milligrams of CDP choline in that stack. But if I were to just take CDP choline myself, separate from the Cortex Gen 1 stack, and just, say I was taking, some CDP choline and, I don't know, some Bacopa, and like some ashwagandha, that could be a synergistic stack. I would not take a whole lot of CDP choline. I'd take between 50 and 100 milligrams. That's it. That's as far as I would go with it, because CDP choline in excess for me just makes me, I get a little too stimulated, and I get a little too it creates brain fog after a certain point. It's like it's too much. I think it's either too much acetylcholine or just too much CDP in the Kennedy cycle in my brain. That's like a cycle by which CDP choline turns into phosphatidylcholine, and eventually to acetylcholine, or maybe the other way around. But I feel like it's entirely too much in my brain at one time, and I start to feel foggy. I can't really think straight. I'm not as fluid as I normally would be. There's a block, sort of it seems like a blockage of some type going on. And I know that's, because I took the nutrient in excess. Uridine monophosphate, which I think is an amazing nutrient, and that's why it's included in Cortex Gen 1, maybe in Cortex Gen 2 as well. I think it's an amazing nutrient, but taking that in high quantities too, for me, induces like a tiredness, sort of a fatigue and lethargy that doesn't seem to go away unless I take something like N-acetyl L-tyrosine, as sort of a catecholamine precursor, something that boosts dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. I'm not sure exactly which one of those being boosted is remedying that problem. Possibly epinephrine, but maybe it's dopamine. I mean, I have no idea, but I can tell you that taking I think for me it's somewhere around 250 milligrams or above of uridine monophosphate, puts me in a negative place. But just puts me in a place where I've got tiredness and fog, similar to the symptoms of CDP choline, and that makes sense because uridine eventually becomes CDP choline, and I'm getting a text message on my phone. I'm like trying to read it. They're all kind of related in that process. So it would make sense that taking CDP choline in excess as well as taking uridine monophosphate in excess would yield similar negative side effects. So it's funny because like huperzine A, the acetylcholinesterase inhibitor, which is a popular nootropic, is also the same thing. I also get the same response there, where if I take, the recommended dose is like 200 to 400 micrograms. That's been like proven safe, and I air quote that because I really don't think that that's proven safe. It might have been safe in the 17 people that were in that study, which is a great reason why it's demonstrative of the idea that studies are not perfect and they're designed poorly, and there are very many limitations to studies of that type. But so that's probably the case, because for me, even without acetylcholine precursors, I really can't take any more than 30 to 50 micrograms of huperzine A without getting vertigo, like symptoms, sort of dizziness type symptoms that normally come with it. Once they wear off, I have an interesting level of brain function as a result of that, but I'm almost positive it's far too much acetylcholine in my brain, and maybe for me, it's breaking down acetylcholine esterase, or it's inhibiting acetylcholine esterase a lot faster, and that works that way in my brain, and I can't really deal with too much huperzine A, and then for other people, they can deal with a lot more, especially if people that are older, 50 plus, 60 years old, can deal with a lot more huperzine A because they don't have a whole lot of acetylcholine in their brain, because they're aging, and the stuff is breaking down. Their body's ability to create it is breaking down. Maybe they're not absorbing it from the nutrients that they're eating. So huperzine A is like another great example of that. But when it comes down to it, I really can't think of any other nootropics that I benefit from taking in large quantity. And I've taken a lot of them, most of the racetams, all the herbs you can think of, from bacopa to gotu kola to artichoke extract and forskolin, and the list goes on. And then the chemical derivatives, the things that you find in your body, acetyl L-carnitine, all the acetylcholine precursors. And they all in large quantity make me feel bad, but in the right quantities, they make me feel amazing. And my brain works really good, and I can really put things together in an interesting way in the right quantities. Even creatine monohydrate for me, 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, which is a sort of normal dose for people that sometimes claim to not have any negative effects from it. I get vertigo-like symptoms. I mean, that's a pretty common thing with creatine, but because it dehydrates you in a way where it sucks the water to your muscles and dehydrates the rest of your body, so you have to drink more water. It's sort of a known thing, so that could be the mechanism of action behind my negative effects there. But I mean, I have to take a significantly lower dose of creatine to not feel crappy. you know, for the subsequent like 2 to 3 days. It's very odd. So I guess what I would say is, you know, this might not be the case for you or other nootropic users out there, but for me it certainly is, and I get just a majorly better benefit from taking certain nootropics by taking them at a smaller dose. And I would suggest for people out there that are trying nootropics, new to nootropics, have been fussing with nootropics for some time, to give that a shot and see how that affects you. If you've got side effects from particular nootropics, especially the acetylcholine precursors, or anything out there, then I would suggest taking smaller doses of the stuff and finding the dose that's right for you and seeing how you feel. I came upon this idea because I'm crafting nootropics. Like, I'm building professional nootropics that, you know, that are going to be on the market, and so building Cortex Gen 1, I realized that too much is, you know, just entirely too much. Like, having to be in a situation where you're trying to make the best product you can make and to put it out there that people really like it and get a benefit that's measurable and they know that they're getting the benefit from it, takes a lot of experimentation. And my experimentation has forced me to go in lower quantities to get the best results. And so I guess I'm not a scientist, I get that, but in my own N=1, many N=1s, it's significant because I've done a lot of them. You know, the sort of citizen science points to less quantities being beneficial. So hope that makes sense. Thanks a lot for watching. If Cortex Gen 1 has launched, pick up a bottle, you'll love it. If it hasn't launched, get on the email list to get notified once the product does launch. You can do that right from livecortex.com, and otherwise, talk to you soon.